they're going to want to get themselves a big win here. KLG, they definitely struggled against G-Rex. They lost the fastest Baron of the play-in so far, and then they quickly got demolished afterwards. And then for Gambit, they had a little bit more of a fight up against G-Rex. They found a couple of good picks, but unfortunately they kept trying to put themselves into fights that they just couldn't win. So I'm hoping for Gambit they don't pick that much scaling this time around, because we know that, or expecting KLG to be able to play through the early game. And I don't know if Diamond Prox will track Tearwolf as well as Empty was earlier in the day.
Well, we'll have to see. Of course, both these teams, despite their junglers having slightly different styles, are going to be relying and looking to them in that early game. But bans are done. To quickly recap, Skarner, Varus, Camille, Aatrox, Poppy, and Rakan, which leaves first pick Alistar of all things.
Interesting. So they want that engage on the side of Gambit. I feel like with the Braum nerfs and with the Tahm Kench nerfs, Alistar is just kind of considered the strongest support right now in the current meta. Morgana has been considered kind of one of the answers, but Braum is one of the kind of go-to. This will leave the Akali open. So our first Akali of the play-in stage. I'm excited to see Plugo on that. And KLG going to lock themselves in a very early AD carry for Fix. So a bit of a shift from what we saw earlier, where they kind of locked in the Xayah Rakan against G-Rex, got themselves a strong 2v2 down the bot lane, going for a bit more of a scaling this time around.
Excited already with how this game is shaping up. Nice to see Akali there. And I think Plugo is a player that for KLG, and even MSI this year did look quite impressive, had some strong individual moments, so is a player that can carry for this team. And like you mentioned, Kai'Sa, always good to get. But I like this as well, kind of a change up in what I assume is jungle, especially with that Galio picked up. Talia here for Diamond Prox.
Looks like it. And definitely a big change up for Gambit this time around. They put a lot of focus on Gragas, Tristana, and Ornn the first time round. And this does mean that that they've now gone for more of a side lane threat. So I don't think they're going to be looking to play through mid when you have a Talia who's great at roaming around the map, and you compare that up with the Galio as well, who is also great at roaming around the map. It kind of says, hey, we want to roam around the map.
Yeah. Well, where do they go? They need maybe top and bot lane to be completed. They did also give over Urgot to KLG as a result of how they approach this draft, and actually will ban Tristana here. So again, maybe expecting Gambit to be giving Logic some comfort.
I like the fact that the Urgot pick is picked up for KLG. I feel like that they've just got themselves a lot of strong champions. You know, Kai'Sa, Akali, Urgot, kind of considered three of the strongest champions in the current meta. And while Akali did receive some small nerfs on patch 8.19, she's still very lethal. In the first couple of levels, you can look to kind of punish her, given that she doesn't have the best wave clear and she doesn't have kill threat. But then when she hits level 6 against most mid lane matchups, she does have kill pressure. And while the Galio can kind of mitigate that, he is still a melee mid lane mage that can suffer a lot of harassment from Akali. And before he's able to build some magic resistance, he needs to be very careful. So I wouldn't even be surprised if we saw KLG go for something pretty aggressive in terms of the jungle and just look to hard camp mid in the early stages of play.
Yeah, I think certainly a strategy that can be effective. So 2 jungle bans as a result from Gambit, Gragas, and Olaf taken away. This would also be a pretty good aggressive look in the bot side of the map.
I'd be very surprised if they went for Pyke, because the thing about Pyke is he's great at roaming around the map, but Kai'Sa's not the kind of champion you can abandon in lane, because then she's the one that's going to get dived. So I think Braum makes a lot more sense, much better, and geared towards team fighting, which is where Kai'Sa specializes in, and it's a good matchup into the Alistar as well. So now if you're looking at Gambit, I'd love to see a bit of a carry from Stasios. During the regular season, he played a lot of things like Gangplank, Aatrox, he liked Sion as well. Like, he had a pretty deep champion pool, and with the way that things are going, I feel like that we are going to see more of a carry-style champion towards the top side of the map.
I like this as well. A lot are going to take the Lucian and try and get aggressive in their 2v2. And like you mentioned, maybe Stasios going to change it up away from the tanks and perhaps onto a fighter, as Darius is going to be hovered.
I don't know if I like Darius into the Urgot. One of his big issues is closing the gap with whoever's in front of him. And you got to remember that while Urgot isn't the most mobile champ, he does have that dash, and he's got a pretty fatty slow on his Q as well, so they're instead just going to go for more of the kind of lane-dominant tank in Sion. So the damage is a little bit low, but fortunately they do have the Talia in the jungle and the Lucian as well, so solid early game damage, and you are very much setting up for kills around the bottom lane. Like, you are looking for dives, you have Alistar who's great at tower diving, you have the Galio ulti to act as support, and Gambit definitely much more of an early game focused comp. Whereas KLG, they kind of have elements of scaling and also elements of early game. You know, at level 6, Akali plus Kindred devastating 2 versus 2 duo, and you can just blow up that Talia before she can even move. But at the same time, this team doesn't have great engage tools, and they don't actually have many options to start fights off. So for KLG, I expect a lot of focus around the middle lane, trying to get the Akali head, working together to try and get this assassin snowballing. However, for Gambit, it's all about bot lane. Just camp that bot lane. Once you hit your ultimates, look to try and dive, get your team comp ahead through the bottom side of the map, and then use your early pressure to snowball into a solid mid game. So definitely big changes from what we've seen so far earlier in the day, and the question is who will be able to better execute upon their new draft style.
And again, a very important game for both these teams as well. Never feels good to go 0-2 on your first day of Worlds. You want to keep the hopes alive and give yourself an easier path. So we'll see which team is going to emerge victorious here. But it is fun again to also see adjustments from these teams, and you have to be real quick when you're adjusting to the meta at Worlds. It often evolves game to game. So I like seeing these teams make some of the changes, and I'm excited to see Plugo kind of given the most agency on his team. I think we talk a lot about Teal'c and how good he is, and understandably, the team plays with and around him, often on his aggressive picks, but I think Plugo has the ability to really take over a game. And on Akali, you're kind of being said, you know what, take over this game, because if you don't, we may struggle.
It's very, very true. And we'll see how he's able to do on it. Remember that both of these teams are currently sitting at 0-1 in their group. Both were pretty handily defeated by G-Rex, and they currently sit at 2-0. Now, both these teams will want to find a win just because it makes making it into the play-in playoffs that much easier. Starting off 0-2 just makes your life really difficult, to be honest. So they're going to want to avoid that. And the fact that KLG bring out the assassin in the mid lane, Akali, one of my favorite champions. I absolutely love playing. And even though many do consider Galio a good pick into her, I strongly believe that in the early levels, you can really bully that Galio hard. Just because Akali thrives in short-range matchups. Perhaps not in the dance-off. I do feel like the Galio has the better moves in that scenario. But the thing is, because she has so much spammability on her Q, the sustain she gets, the damage that she gets, and how easy it is to proc your passive as well, it's just really easy to harass melee champions. Which means that every time he walks up to try and clear the wave, you just throw damage out, and he won't have that much magic resistance at early levels. So you can really bully him around, and when you run an Ignite and you hit the level 6, you do actually have the potential to solo kill him, or at least generate the pressure to give your jungle the option to actually invade and do some stuff. Once he gets some magic resistance, that's when it becomes really boring for Akali, and she can't really do anything.
Yeah.
But until then, I do feel that the Akali can do stuff during the lane.
And excited to see both mid-jungle duos, of course, for different reasons. I think if Plugo gets ahead, that helps Teal'c. If Teal'c gets ahead, that helps Plugo. There's certainly a lot to work with there as Kira already getting aggressive.
Interesting. Started with the E on the Galio instead of the Q. Wants to just get in the face of Plugo a little bit.
Does dodge out from that Q as well. So Kira again, ooh, very nice E. Aftershock is going to proc, but not do the damage.
So it's the combination of the E with the Aftershock that makes it that much harder for Plugo to trade back into him, and also provides you with some pretty solid wave clear. And the mana cost is also pretty low, so I like the shift up here from Kira, working out pretty nicely. And you combine it with your passive too, and you'll have some pretty solid wave clear. So good adaptation there to give you a little bit more power in terms of the early trading. And it will force Plugo into tower, but here comes Teal'c.
Yep, again, level 2 after that Crab, very quick to try and pressure mid. Wave's in a good spot for it, but Kira, playing respectfully, will back away from the potential pressure. Teal'c, though, maybe has his mind on other things. He's going to go Crab to Crab here after that blue buff. And Diamond is not in sight. He's busy on the Krugs. So that will be double Crab there for Teal'c. Nate even rotating down just to get some vision and to make sure nothing bad has happened. Did they see that blue buff?
Yes, they did. KLG just wanted to make sure that they will be able to secure this objective. Diamprox, knowing that the risk of an invade was real, so he's just going to do a full bot side clear. He wants to try and steal some stuff away himself, but he's going to realize, there's nothing here. So that's a little bit unfortunate.
Teal'c, as a result, is going to get the blue and the Gromp. Have to settle just for the Wolf Camp there for Diamondprox. Always kind of feels bad. Diamond, of course, very famous for his ability to out-partner, out-jungle people, but a lot of people have learned from his ways since very far back in the day. So Teal'c with a good aggressive path, with some intelligent choices, will find himself pretty comfortably ahead here in the early game. Yep. Got a mark to boot as well, which always feels good as Kindred.
So we talked a little bit about like win conditions, what both teams are looking to do. You know, To reiterate, Gambit looking largely to play through bot lane. They have the Lucian Alistair, which is really good duo, largely into the Kai'Sa, who can't really threaten that much. You can already see down towards the bottom lane, there's a lot of pushing. They're being forced underneath their tower. They're going to take a bit of harassment, and that's just kind of what you'd expect from a Lucian, who did receive a small buff on recent patches. And you know, it was Freaky who was telling me, you know, I actually think he's going to come back into the meta. I was a skeptic, but clearly I was proven wrong, as we've seen him a couple times today. And they're going to want to do that once they hit the level 6 mark broadly, but Diamondrock's going for an invade.
Kira abandoned him, actually. Kira could have been set up for potential kill. Plugo invis will not get taunted out either. And T-Wolf almost gave out the bust, and now it's Diamond that's in trouble. A good knock-up though from Kira, as Kira also going to be forced to flash away as Nate rotated down on the Urgot.
So a lot of summoner spells used around the middle lane, and we see a bit of a trade in bot.
Oh, again, getting aggressive, but a door put up there by Braum is slow. Prevents so much of the incoming damage. Lodic, though, still moving up, trying to get the love taps down in onto Fix.
That was very aggressive from the bot lane of Gambit. Flash and Ignite used for only the heal of Fix. I think they were pretty ambitious with the amount of damage output that they thought they were able to throw out. Remember that there is a Braum that can just, you know, use his shield to mitigate all the damage from the Lucian. So unfortunately for Gambit's bot lane, they couldn't really find much off the back of that, aside from a bit of pressure. And now the Gambit bot lane will be moving up. Here's T-Wolf sitting in the jungle.
Yep, again, with double buff, so pretty threatening here. Edward also no flash. Here's the TP in from Gambit, though. Edward gonna try and turn it back around. They want the buff. Donation successful. Luddick, he's gonna pick it up. And there's the taunt as Kira collapses, and Plugo goes down. And Edward, he'll be the sacrifice here for the team.
Run, Edward,
he's
run!
just gonna, you know, have some fun. And Fix, unfortunately, does get the kill. KLG will be happy with that trade.
Well, 2 for 1 in favor of Gambit. Things looked a little dire at first glance. I was like, oh, no. Edward, he's going to get collapsed on. He has no summoner spells. And KLG are all there, coming in from all angles. But the damage from Gambit and the response time as well was just absolutely fantastic. As this replay will be brought to you by Ace of Predator. You can see immediately the teleport comes in, and Lodic and Edward just have so much damage, and there's no flash from T-Wolf, which means that they're able to quickly get that kill. Plugo then gets abandoned because he's in a 4 versus 3 situation. And so he has to give his life away as well. And while Fix gets a kill, and that's pretty good for KLG, the Lucian is ahead. The Galio is ahead. Magic resistance has started to come through for the side of Gambit, and now Kira is level 6. So that Gambit win condition of playing through bot is now set up in an even better situation.
Nate just TP'd on a controller to protect that Scottico. It was the bounty. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. But clearly, very much rallying around their jungle as T-Wolf will get that mark. Not so bad, I guess, for the spellbook. Oh, God. Because Nate's going to get the lane pushed in here as well. But certainly the texture of the map changes a lot now that Kira is level 6. Also more pressure here for Plugo, but starting to take some pretty hefty damage in his trades. Kira looking good on the Galio so far, and we have seen Diamond get somewhat proactive in the jungle. I think, again, now that Kira is able to be so much more mobile with the Galio and the ulti at the ready, expecting that bot lane pressure to continue to mount here.
And you know, coming into this matchup, we were going to talk a lot about the 2 junglers and the differences and how they will be really important in this matchup. And you think back to their series throughout the day, and they didn't have the best of performances. You can see that in terms of their KDA, it was pretty low. Their team jungle proximity, T-Wolf did spend a lot of time around his laners, but wasn't really able to pull much off. And unfortunately, their goal differences were pretty low just because they fell so far behind G-Rex. But coming into the tournament, we were like, okay, these 2 will be the focal point for these teams. Diamond Prox in their final was a big catalyst for how they were even able to win the final. If a play is going to happen, it happens as a result of Diamond Prox, for the most cases on the side of Gambit. And for KLG, it's the same thing for T-Wolf, except in the early game. He's all about early game aggression, finding kills, trying to snowball his lanes. And if he's not doing that, then KLG often struggle. But they're just so good at finding early leads. You know, Shock said the stat earlier, 90% win rate when they have a lead at 15. But so far, he has not been able to find the lead against any of the teams in his group. He's currently 0-1 on the Kindred. And every time he tries to make a play, teams, well, like Gambit and G-Rex just seem to be very good at kind of denying that and shutting that down. So eyes will continue to be on T-Wolf to see if he can find some kind of early game comeback for KLG, but also for Diamond Prox. How often is he going to look to move around bot lane? How well can he utilize the already strong low lane?
You can see T-Wolf trying to fight Kira. Blue buff actually over to Diamond, but makes sense on a mage jungler. Double buffs here and level 6 for the Talia. The T-Wolf going to have to be a bit careful in the exchange, especially with Galio just to the right. Talks about Plugo as well, someone we maybe expected to have more of an impact on the Akali pick. Still has time, of course. Akali just kind of farming it out. Kira's been playing the lane well, just going to keep it even and keep it pushed. But Plugo can take over in an instance with a playmaker like Akali. So we'll see if KLG can find those opportunities as well. But so far for Gambit, things seem to be going pretty well according to plan.
Everything looking pretty good for them, and it's one of those situations where the scaling isn't the best, right? When you kind of compare it pound for pound, you kind of think, okay, Kai'Sa, when they have 3 items, I kind of give the edge to her as a champion. You kind of look at Akali and her ability to threaten the backline. Like, she could very easily just kill either Diamond Prox or Lodic. There isn't the best peel on the side of Gambit, and if Plugo can pull that off in a late game fight, well then a lot of the damage suddenly disappears from the side of Gambit. So in terms of scaling, I kind of give the edge to KLG, but that's never really been their strength.
No.
We talked a lot about the early game leads and how T-Wolf is the big catalyst for that. But for Gambit, their composition being a little bit more early to mid-game focused, right now, as long as they just keep utilizing their pressure, they should be in a good spot. T-Wolf now looking for a gank.
Yep, 3v2 on the bot side. Edward already popped Unbreakable Will, but that will be enough to dissuade the rest of that attempt. Plugo also roaming down as well, but unfortunately will not get too much out of this. And Kira even rotates down just to make sure he can be in ult range if needed, but back to mid lane there to push things in. And this has been something that Kira has done a lot, playing more of his utility and control mages and enabling the rest of his team. Talk about Diamond, always someone who can get going, especially on a champion like Talia. And here's a gank setup in the bot side for Gambit.
Here we go, Gambit. This is the kind of thing we want to see. Play towards bot, look at the Galio, keep your eyes on the mid lane. There's the Talia ulti.
All right, and here's the Sion. Oh, very nice cut off there. Big Steve gonna get rotated back into the bounce house he goes, and Stayhouse grabs the kill.
Perfect execution there from Gambit, pulling off exactly what they need to do. They don't even need the Galio ulti either. 4 members strong, they're looking for first blood tap.
Oh, Edward flashing onto T-Wolf, gonna force the flash out as well. Edward now tanking the turret though, so has to walk out of turret range. Gonna tank one more shot, but barely lived through the rest of it. Nate has come down here as well. Now gonna flash forward. He's gonna try and get the lock on, finds Lodic, but not nearly enough follow-up damage to nail that execute.
Good stuff there from Gambit. They aren't quite able to secure a tower, but they find themselves a quick kill. They get a couple summoner spells out from KLG, and they're just continuing to get their bot lane ahead while putting Fix behind. And we talk so much about how this is the way in which they're going to win this game. And I love the fact that they bring Stages down. You know, they rotate him down, they don't even use the teleport, they just take advantage of his ultimate. Sure, he loses out on a bit of farm, but his win condition gets gold, and that's ultimately what matters. And this is such a big difference from the Gambit from earlier, because my biggest criticism to them was they had a composition that scaled, and they kept trying to force a team that was that much stronger in the early game, and they weren't able to do it. So this time around, you can see strong early game comp, able to pull out in the bottom lane. Slow is like, there's nothing I can do for you, so I'm outie. And then he just leaves his AD carry to unfortunately die. He did have his summoner spells, I think, so he could have flashed out from that, but ends up not doing it.
Yeah, once you get hit by the Sion ulti, not much hope left. There's a nice flick back there into Kira ulti. There's the next rock up. Tor gonna come in through, doesn't even really need it, but he's able to grab the kill onto Nate. Here's T-Wolf. Quite a bit too late, about to get knocked around himself. He does have ulti. Gonna buy time here for Plugo. Can Plugo make the play? There's PE1. Looking to execute around dancing. Looking for Diamond Prox, who flashes out of the way. The next Q misses. Tumble over. Here he goes. Looking for the play. Finds it. Execute is good. Flashes over the wall to get out to safety. And T-Wolf, he'll take the farm while he's here.
Oh, Stages though, he's looking for it. Don't get out of there, man.
Yeah, turret does go on now. T-Wolf actually can maybe look to chase, but no flash means probably not. And we finally see Plugo's first impact there on an exchange in top lane.
So, 1 for 1. See, this is what happens when Gambit don't play around bot. You don't gank the Urgot lane, that's your mistake. Because he's so tanky, it takes such a long time to kill, it gives time for Plugo to rotate up towards the top side of the map. He helps out T-Wolf, not actually able to get a kill back. Definitely a positive for KLG, but still overall a net loss, given that kill goes over to Gambit, more farm is lost onto your top lane tank. And the bot lane is just being continued to pressure from the side of Gambit. So things still heavily in their favor, pretty healthy gold lead. We're approaching the 15-minute mark and some of these big first items being completed, but here we see the dive. And The setup is pretty good. The Galley ulti is able. You can see just how long Nate just kind of survives for. Tearwolf is able to come through. This was definitely very, very risky, but he's like, okay, I've got Plugo coming, I should be fine, and with my ulti, I should just be able to stall long enough for Plugo to arrive, and then we talked about how squishy the Talia is and how easy it is for Plugo to get that execute. He uses ulti there to try and get the last hit, isn't quite able to pull it off, but then uses the E to jump over the wall to get the damage, and then he just flashes out just for safety. Probably didn't need to, I don't know if there was enough damage there, but does it regardless, he gets himself a kill.
Yeah, Tearwolf though continues to be harassed by members of Gambit, as they're back towards the correct side of the map as far as their composition goes this game. Continuing to apply pressure on bot lane. Of course, I'd love to get that turret. It's pretty low. Theos also doing work here in the top side of the map after that earlier pressure we just saw. So certainly some room for Gambit to knock down turrets and expand their gold and map lead even further. But do want to grab that extra gold while you can. Doesn't feel like any of their turrets are currently in danger of getting taken down, but Gambit, even though they are likely going to get outscaled based on their compositions, I don't think their comp needs to play hyper early game aggressive to get anywhere. But they need to do stuff in the mid game to set up to kind of demolish before the Kai'Sa can really come online.
So I mean, the worst situation for Gambit now is to not secure these outer towers. If they're unable to do that, then the game's going to be drawn out even longer, and that's when the scaling aspect of KLG can kind of come back into the game. But as long as they use the early lead to secure these outer towers, then it becomes easier to, once they hit the 2-item spike, start threatening things like Dragon and Baron, force KLG into a fight that they don't want to take, and then that's how you win the game, right? So I think for Gambit, they're playing just fine. They've secured bot tower. The Drake is already down. They'll use this opportunity to push out the wave, go back to base, rotate up to top lane, and then they'll look to set up around the Rift Herald, which can be used to either take mid or top tower. They can then get a bit of deep vision towards the top side of the map, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of like your textbook play of how to use the early to mid game advantage. And KLG will just kind of look to kind of find picks or objectives whenever Gambit are making these rotations, whenever they're trying to move around the map, because you do have Kindred, who is pretty strong in these skirmish situations. Once the Gunblade is completed for Plugo as well, that's a really big item spike for the Akali. So KLG, they just need to kind of find those opportunities, lie and wait, and just wait for Gambit to make those small mistakes.
Going to clear out vision on the left side, of course, now that they've rotated their duo lane up there. KLG also, knowing that textbook, did move their duo lane up pretty early, so able to meet the wave and buy some time for the pretty fragile looking outer turret there in top lane. Rift Herald also still on the cards, only up for 4 more minutes or so, as Slow is getting harassed by Diamond.
Know that they've kept Stasios up on the top side of the map. He does have TP, but they just want to zone KLG away from this tower to make taking this Rift Herald easier, but now they're going to force a fight.
Oh, Kira actually ultied in, but that Stasios already out, gets a decent knock-up, but really just time to buy for the turrets of 4. They do grab it, but those cooldowns burnt maybe mean that the Rift Herald conversion isn't as easy.
But they get the teleport out from Nate, which is overall a net positive, because now Stasios in a side lane has that TP advantage, and it's easier for Gambit to force things.
Oh, Edward in the brush as always! Double pole, Nate goes down, and that'll be Herald there for Gambit.
And KLG, they tried to contest the Rift Herald, and they're not strong enough, but they're still going to try.
4v5, perhaps? Ultis are ready for pretty much everyone. They're going to maybe try and steal it away here. Plugo also on the big flank side, but Egwin again finds the pole into the Decimate for the bounce house. And KLG, Tearwolf ulti, but they're maybe going to die on the back end of the play. Plugo with a great shroud, dancing around the rest of the team. Pops himself away. I think he has to use ult 1. He does do so and dashes out with his second hit of it.
That was really impressive there from Plugo. Buying enough time for his teammates to escape means that KLG lose no extra members after what looked like a devastating engage from the side of Gambit. This is where things start off. Gambit hiding in the fog of war. He doesn't get hit by the Q from Nate, and then boom, surprise! It's the meat man. Well, it's the beef man is what I meant to say, as Edwards secures himself the double knockup. They find themselves another kill. And then this is where KLG just get a little overconfident. They don't need to contest this. You should just give up the objective. And then the flash in from Edward gets the flash, double knockup once again. Tearwolf just in time gets his ulti out, so he doesn't end up losing his life. And then here, really good use of the W from Plugo combined with the slow and just kind of being a distraction to allow the rest of his team to get away with their lives.
Does do so, but cost him a few cooldowns, and in the replay, Gambit did get themselves a Cloud Drake, so have equalized on that objective as well. Continuing to build up gold there, 3k ahead with still quite a lot of this map to try and take away. Although Gunblade is done now for Plugo, and Gipsy's Rage Drag was done a few minutes ago there for Fix, so things are starting to come together, but like you mentioned earlier, Kai'Sa does need kind of that 3-item mark to get things going, and Logic is rapidly approaching item number 2.
So Gambit now sitting at about a 3,500 gold lead, so they're pretty happy with the state of the game. Baron has spawned in about a minute's time now. The Baron taking speed of Gambit isn't the fastest, but they do have 3 big, beefy tanks, so they can threaten it a lot, because you can just soak up the damage for such a long time, meaning that you can force KLG into situations where they have to come check, and they have to come and challenge you, which is kind of what you want, because that's the kind of situation where you can force a mid-game fight where you know you're stronger at that point in the game, and for Gambit, that's the kind of playstyle that they will be looking for.
The outer turret, though, is causing a nuisance. Kira, nice taunt. Lands a big chunk of damage onto Plugo. Galio has really been very effective here in this game, although T-Wolf going to maybe try and punish Kira as he looks for a gank, but Kira dashes away, gets down the minion wave, and T-Wolf going to have to wait for another day as Gambit are already 4-man shoving the mid lane. Make it 3, although Seos is rotating down now. Edward again, he's going to look for that pole. He goes straight in onto him. Slowly going to get knocked back in by the Talia W, and Logic picks up a freebie.
Here comes the rest of KLG.
Oh, God, what an angle from Stehos. He's going to force T-Wolf's ulti. He does get the ultimate down, but T-Wolf pops over the wall to safety. Plugo, though, going to run out of Shroud. There's Edward looking for it, but Nate buffered the dash through after the pulverize and does get to safety, but still Stehos charging up. Flick back from Diamond is going to land and force the bust out of the Urgot. Gambit just continuing to find cooldowns here, and they will take the turret as well.
All right, Gambit looking pretty clean after finding that pick onto Slow and just steadily backing away while chipping out on the members of KLG will secure themselves the final outer tower that stands in their way. This is when they can use the pressure that they have to get some deep vision down into the top side of the enemy jungle. But unfortunately for them, they haven't reset yet. So they have no wards in their inventory, and they have little that they can do to set up. So they're going to have to go back to base, spend some of their gold, and then that's when we'll see the control wards start to come through.
Again, they'll do that now. Gambit playing, I think, a little less reckless this time around. It is easier with a lead, of course, but like you said, they kind of just overforced fights, it felt like, with a comp that really did not want to be doing it and a position that did not want to be doing that either. But I think this comp, much more Gambit style, they can force through mid-game, look to build up a big lead and win in the way that we did see them win so much this year at MSI.
And it was interesting because had the opportunity to catch up with Edward and kind of the state of the team, and he said himself to not put high expectations upon Gambit because the team has had a very, very busy split. They kind of straight after MSI, they went into a boot camp and they went back to the regular season, and then they had Rift Rivals and they had other tournaments, and then there were more boot camps, and coming into Worlds they were just kind of like, yeah, we're pretty tired. Like, they've played a lot of League of Legends over the last couple of months, and I feel like you look back at their first game, and that was part of an indication of that, right? Where the team wasn't fully aligned on how they wanted to approach the game, had to execute upon their comp, but after that defeat, I think it's just a very quick and easy wake-up call, being like, okay, we realize what we're doing wrong, we realize how we need to change things up, and if they want to fight, if they want to challenge in this early game, then draft towards it, and that's exactly what they've done. They're trying to enable one of their strongest players in Lodic, currently sitting at 203, really healthy farm, completed 2 items, and overall, they're looking like very strong in the mid game, which for Gambit is kind of where they thrive best, because kind of utilizing the pressure that they have is one of their strongest suits, and was kind of the situation that they found the best leads during the regular season of the LCS.
Interesting 2v2 brewing here in the bot lane, but Nate's going to get away there from Sion and actually Alistar that was incoming. Of course, KLG had reinforcements as well. Diamond, though, looking for a straggler. Going to get found out by the sweeper, so we'll have to give that one up. But like you said, Gambit, it's true at MSI, it's true domestically for them, do love to win through the mid-game, and that usually means the big purple worm, Baron, will likely be the thing they pay very close attention to in these coming minutes.
Kira now taking absolutely 0 damage from Plugo, which is why he's more than happy to hold him off on the side lane. Gambit doing what they can to steal away some of these jungle camps and overall be a pest towards KLG. And Nate really getting bullied out of this lane. But that's thanks to the early lead that Stagos was able to build up for himself. And now Gambit actually just grouping and sieging. Not investing a huge amount into deep vision. They've got a couple of wards littered around the Baron pit. and they just want to keep the minion waves pushed up before they move towards that objective and start threatening it.
1-3-1 actually using Kira, as you mentioned, in the side lane versus the Akali. Plugo with the Ignite is going to be not so hot. Going to take quite a while to run down to mid, so Gambit, I think, just playing with the position of their waves and the map, and probably just waiting for that Cloud Drake to spawn in 25 minutes.
Also just to steal away camps, right? This is one of the things that you have when you have a really strong mid-game lead is, ooh, here we have a bit of a skirmish.
Edward looks to try and disengage, but Slow already took so much damage. Kira is going to ult in. Lonic, though, is going to try and get the damage down, but Edward with the Ignite able to finish off the last remaining health of Slow, and now Stayhealth unstoppable, just going to keep chasing down. He finds Plugo. He is going to get the knockup through the Shroud, but he can't see after that. Still, the turret did fall down, so Gambit get out alive and take the objective.
Yeah, I like the confidence there from Gambit. They recognize that Plugo rotated down faster, which meant that KLG actually had the numbers advantage, but the moment a small skirmish picked off, immediately Kira ultis in and joins the fray. Then with the fight ensuing, Slow gets caught out just like he did last time. The knockback from the Talia into the burst damage from the rest of the Gambit members allow them to secure another tower. They're going to get the second one off the back of it as well, and they don't need the Baron. They're just grouping, forcing, and they're coming out ahead.
Yep, probably going to get this Cloud Drake as well. No, maybe going to recall Diamond in the area, so potentially just going to solo this one down. And Gambit certainly looking a whole lot cleaner just after one game here. Granted, a different opponent, of course, so tough to say exactly how all the things are adding up as Kira TP's back to mid. He's going to get down that wave and wants to keep up the pressure that he's been able to put on. KLG kind of know that, all right, we don't have that much we can control right now. We're going to try and apply pressure. Left side is best side because Baron is a big deal, but Stayos, another great drift on the Scion. Going to try and grab Slow, but he teleports across the rift. Stand behind me plus flash, gets himself out to safety.
KLG being forced away from the Baron though. After Gambit went to reset, KLG got a couple of wards down, and now Gambit are like, nope, I'm afraid this area of the map belongs to us. You do not have permission to be on our land. You will now face the cow, and you will be escorted from the premises. And KLG now at such a big gold deficit. With this Scuttle Crab, will give them a bit of information as to when that is starting off. But Gambit, they need to get control over their side lanes a little bit. They do still have the teleport on Sejo, so I expect him to go back down towards the bot lane to threaten that and push it out. Gambit also need to move in towards the enemy jungle, and to do that, they need mid priority. So you'll see Lodic and Edward moving back towards that lane, clearing that out, and then they'll group up with Kira to get a couple of deep wards down. You can see in their inventory all the control wards they have and the sweeper that's on the back of Diamond, and this will be used to just clear out the top side of the jungle, and then either look for a pick or just threaten the Baron to start a fight.
Yep, no need to change much from their previous lane configuration. Gonna wait out this speed train there as well, which is timing out in a little bit. KLG again, probably need to start thinking about, okay, when do we think is a good opportunity to pick a fight? They're never gonna get the ideal opportunity at this rate. But do they wait for Fix to get that third item, or do they have to kind of go on 2 or 2.5? Tough decisions to make around the Baron, and Gambit are playing it pretty well to starve them away from these areas.
I think the best case scenario for KLG is either getting a quick assassination onto Diamond Prox or Lodic. It's definitely possible if you kind of combine Plugo and Fix's ability to quickly dive onto the backline, but that's easier said than done against the Galio with his ulti and his W, and then the Alistar if you're waiting for an engage. So you kind of need Gambit to start the fight, and then you find a flank onto the backline. I'd say that's your best case scenario if you can't afford to wait until the late game, but I feel like Gambit don't need to. They can very easily force and threaten the Baron and put KLG into a situation where they don't get that kind of a favorable fight, which means that Gambit secure the Baron and then they can win the game. But right now, they're actually just grouping and pushing towards towers. They're not using the Baron at all.
Theos is back on the bullying Nate again. Oh, goodbye. T-Wolf, you had ulti and flash, but apparently didn't use them. Gambit demolished the poor jungler. They're going to take the turret as well.
Whew. Looks like Gambit are having lamb for dinner as they found a very quick kill onto Kindred. T-Wolf drops, which means another tower falls as well. The jungler being gone means that the Baron can be started off.
I can't even really blame T-Wolf there either. Whatever happened so fast.
Yeah, it was super fast. The CC from Alistar was more than enough to get the quick kill. And now KLG doing what they can. If they lose this Baron, they know it's going to be that much harder.
Oh, Kira again finds the quick taunt there onto Slow. Edward also going to zone them out of the way. Plugo getting himself knocked around. Gonna get restun there as well after the trample. Kira over. He's gonna zone them all out. That's an easy Baron there for Gambit. And Kira actually gets a knockup. Kind of solos up Plugo as Steos drifts into the jungle to try and take down Slow Fix. He's forced to flash away, but Lodic is gonna chase him down. Slow likely gonna die, does dash to a mini with his W, and now Fix forced to burn his own killer instinct, but Lodic just runs him down and takes him out.
And that's 2 members dead now for KLG. Gambit, they've looked convincing throughout this entire game. 28.5 minutes, they have 2 minion waves pushing in, and they're looking to secure themselves 2 quick inhibitors.
Yep, top is gonna be forfeit pretty swiftly. T-Wolf's back, trying to defend, forced to flash away. Kira, he's gonna make him pay. That taunt just clips him and he dies again before able to use that ulti, and now a double knockout finds Slow and Nate retreating back towards their fountain. And Gambit is going to look to take down these Nexus turrets. Almost playing with their boot as Egwin is knocking people around, but they're just buying space to take down these turrets. Nate knocked up, Righteous Glory's in, and Kira dashing back around. Edward again re-engages on the Alistar. Plugo, a last endeavor with a big flank here, trying to find a snipe in onto a carry, but Lodic will dance around. The rest of Gambit will protect him. Plugo actually does find the shutdown in onto Lodic, but I don't even know if that's enough at this point. The Nexus, it is exposed. KLG will try and fight them off, but Kira, he finds a great kill again onto Plugo, and the Nexus will fall down. Gambit, they really clean it up, and they'll even things out on day number 1.
They will hold the 2nd place in this group for the time being. Gambit looking much better compared to their earlier game, which will certainly give Gambit fans a little bit more confidence as they go into their rematch against G-Rex, who looked very good after today's performance, but KLG feel like we just haven't seen from them what we expected. Early game aggression was kind of the expectation that was built around this team based on how they play in the early game, how they play during the regular season and in their region. But they haven't been able to do that. They've been shut down multiple times in the early game. Their drafts are a little wonky, a little all over the place. It doesn't feel like they have very clear win conditions, and unfortunately for them, they are now sitting at 0-2 in this group, which will definitely make the climb that much harder, but still possible. They will have to find wins against both G-Rex and Gambit on day 3 of the playing stage.